And each of the components that are in the intervention are related to psychological processes that are important to the young people in the way they make decisions and the way they solve problems. So for every component in the booklet, it's written with the intent of having an impact on different parts. So the beliefs that children form, the attitudes that they have towards certain behaviors, how they see drinking as an alternative, but how they see other options to get what they want that don't include drinking. And there's science behind that each of these components does in fact change different parts of the way kids make decisions, which in turn affects how they behave later on. The interesting thing about it too is that in the development of these materials, it's taken years and years and years. We've gotten feedback from both young people and their parents. We've also gotten feedback from their doctors. We've gotten feedback from their teachers. We've gotten feedback from other people in the alcohol field. So in other words, we've done everything we can to get as much feedback in the development of this. And typically, parents will say things like, this information is of great value to me. It's made a difference in the lives. And I'm not reading verbatim from the information here, but usually it's uniformly positive. The one thing that we hear is a negative comment, if I could say that there's a negative comment, is they say, it's too long. You want me to read that whole thing and talk to my kids? I mean, that's a lot of reading. And these are about 20-something pages. And the scientist in me and the parent in me and then the person in me, there's sort of these different roles I play. So one role I play is I never say this out loud, although I'm going to say it now, is I think, really? You won't read something that's 20 pages that'll make a difference in your child's life? That seems like a small price to pay to have a big impact. But I don't say that out loud. What I say instead is, well, maybe you should read a little bit of it and then see how that goes. And if you like it, then you could read more. And more often than not, parents will flip through it and they'll read a section and they'll go, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then they'll read a little more and they'll go, oh, that's kind of good. And before they're done with it, they'll say, well, everybody should be reading this thing. Can I get a copy? I want to give it to a friend of mine who I know it would benefit from. That said, we keep trying to make it shorter and shorter and shorter and smaller and smaller and smaller. The issue is that this is a behavioral intervention. And the way that I think about this is that in a way, this is like medicine that you don't take, with water. It's not a pill, but you read about it and then you follow sort of the directions. So it's behavioral medicine as opposed to pharmacological medicine. And if you don't take the right dose, it doesn't have the same benefit. So if you went to your doctor and said, I'm not feeling good, I'm coughing, I'm sick, I have a fever, I need some medicine. If your doctor said, well, here, and they handed you pills, and they said, take these. And you say, well, how many do I take? Just take them. Well, how often do I take them? Just take them. What if I take too many? Just take them. It's a lot like that. So the thing is that when we make this shorter and shorter, something has to get taken out of it. And the question is, what should get taken out of it? If we know this works, but parents just don't like it because it's a little long, we can make it shorter, but it's kind of like you not taking the full amount of the medicine to make you better. And so we're reluctant until we have evidence that shows that it works when it's smaller. And again, this is meant to be brief, easy. Hand it out, read it, use it, talk to your kids, watch them grow. It's kind of like a plant. Water it, it'll grow. Water it less, not so much. So as a handbook, it has some value. This slide says that we've done 10 years of clinical trials testing it, and we've tested it with regular kids and regular parents, and we've tested it with high-risk children. We've tested it in high-risk environments. We've tested it on not just alcohol-based outcomes, but alcohol and sexual risk-taking behavior, and so on. And so we've done quite a bit of work on this. And we've turned around and published that work in peer-reviewed journal articles to show the evidence that's behind it. Now, sometimes people say to me, well, you're a scientist, you have friends that are scientists. When you write these papers, Rob, don't your friends then accept your word and publish your work, and that's how you build your evidence base? And I say, I wish it was that easy. I wish they were that nice to me. Usually it's like, adults eating their children or some crazy thing like that. They're the hardest group to please that I know. So the fact that we've published this work kind of means that it's gone through our own peer review, and it's been scrutinized. And so here I am talking about the benefits of it. The science is there for people to read about. So what happens when parents read these materials? Does it really make a difference? What I want you to do is just look right now at these figures, and the gray bars represent the kids whose parents didn't have the materials and didn't talk to them about the work. And the red bars represent the parents who had the materials and talked to their kids. And as you can see from this, and this is we did this in the summer, and then we looked at the outcomes in the fall and then in the spring. So we looked at them 6 months and then 9 months post after the parents had the materials. And what we see is that the drinking was reduced, not quite 50%, but something about 50% in young people. And those conversations that took place back in the summer, they had lasting effects. They lasted 9 months later. I also want you to notice that the red bars are at 0. So even though parents communicate with their kids, there's still drinking that goes on. It's just at a lower level. And this is across a weekend of behavior, so it's usually typically a Friday night and a Saturday night that this occurs. And if you think about in averages, they go down from having 4 to 5 drinks a night to around 2 drinks a night. And while that's still drinking, it's reducing the harm that goes along with it. We looked at other behaviors such as binge drinking and found similar results. Again, the gray bars are higher than the red bars, and they're lasting effects. We also looked at it on drinking and driving. Unlike here in Europe, in the United States, we do have a drinking and driving problem that we're not proud of. And so we look at interventions having an effect on reducing the times that young people will get in the car after they've been drinking. And so we've seen reductions in that behavior. We've seen reductions in other behaviors, even though the conversations are around alcohol. We've seen that smoking of cigarettes goes down. We also see that smoking marijuana goes down. So it's interesting that even though we're trying to impact on heavy, high-risk drinking behavior, we see reductions in other harmful areas. And the way to think about this, again, is that are we changing the actual behavior through these conversations, or is it that something else is going on? And I'm fairly confident after 10 years of these trials that what else is going on is that we're seeing that the brain is changing. Okay, that these proxies, when we ask about their beliefs, when we ask their attitudes, when we ask how much influence the friends have had, when we ask about drinking and smoking and high-risk sexual behavior, we're seeing before our eyes that these parents are affecting change in the self-regulation of their young kids and the problem-solving skills in their young kids, so they can take those with them and be healthier adults or young people transitioning to adults.